right, it is time to talk Jets football. We do it every single week. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive, integrity in everything. And we chat with them every week from the Jake Asman Show and ESPN New York. Let's welcome in the one, the only Jake Asman. What's up, Jake?
Gentlemen, the Jets are winless, but the Knicks season starts tonight, so I will
good
be
news on the horizon.
Yeah, thank God I'll be at the Garden tonight watching a real team play, because I was at MetLife Sunday and I watched a horrific football game between one mediocre team and one team that looks like they're the worst in the NFL right now.
Well, Jake, I was worried. Last week I was not part of our little session, and I was worried about how my fine feathered friend would handle it. I knew you'd be the realist, but I always like to try to be the mediator between it all in this room. So I'm glad I'm back this week. Look, it's not good news. We can't, you can't paint this thing. It's gotten ugly for the Jets, and that is leading to a lot of discussion about what the future of the team should start to look at. I know we're in the middle of a football season, and that isn't what you should be talking about, but I'm afraid with the Jets, it's kind of what we need to be talking about how they go about this. What's going to happen here at the trade deadline? Do they jettison off some players? Can they get some picks? So let's break it down a little bit. What kind of things should and might the Jets be thinking about at this particular point, the way the season has gone?
Well, I think they got to think about winning a game, right? I mean, the one and done talk for this regime, it only gets louder every loss, especially if they lose this week to the Bengals, because then you have your bye week. So then it's 2 straight weeks of, wow, you're 0-8. The trade deadline will come and go by the time the Jets play another game. So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty if they go into the bye winless, and there's 2 weeks for this front office and coaching staff to wonder about the direction they want to take the franchise going forward. Is ownership going to allow them to make a lot of these, quote, fire sale moves, even if they wanted to? So, but I think it starts with getting a win, though. That should still be their number one goal. There's 10 games left. They need to show improvement. You have the owner coming out and throwing the starting quarterback, who probably won't be the starting quarterback this week, under the bus. If it doesn't get better, even after the quarterback change, when does the attention start to shift to the coach who's yet to get a win yet? Like, it's easy to say, oh, we'd be okay if our quarterback can complete a pass. Yeah, maybe the last 2 games you could say that. First 5 weeks, you couldn't say that. So I'm very curious to see how they come out and play Sunday against the Bengals, who have 10 days to get ready. And despite what Aaron Glenn says, I don't think there's a big competitive advantage whether Cincinnati's going up against Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields, but that is the life of a Jet fan.
We can get into that because the press conference just a little while ago, I know both of you watched it. Before we go there, let me ask you a follow-up on that Woody Johnson thing, because before that press conference, Woody Johnson was asked to speak. He said no, and then said, "No, we'll talk to you." And then he did exactly what you said. He threw his quarterback, or soon-to-be former quarterback, I imagine, under the bus. What do you make of that? Should Woody just be quiet and pipe down? Do you like the owner stepping up and saying something here? And then now, obviously, the coach has to field questions the whole press conference about where he stands. Are you with the QB or are you with the owner? So let's talk about it. Should Woody have spoken? Let's start there.
Woody could have said something, but he should not have said what he said, right? He's not wrong in talking about how bad Justin Fields has been. You can't say it if you run a multi-billion-dollar franchise. If the guy at the top is saying that, you're now making life harder for your head coach, who you're trying to throw your support behind as he's dealing with a brutal start to his coaching tenure here. Now Aaron Glenn not only has to be asked questions about it, and those clips are going everywhere online following this press conference, but the guys in the locker room all see those comments from the owner. How does Garrett Wilson feel about his good friend on the team being thrown under the bus by the highest power with the football organization, right? Like, it is a bad, bad job by Woody Johnson to throw Justin Fields under the bus. To throw him into a bus moving 100 miles per hour would be a better description of what he did. He's not wrong saying Fields has been bad, but a couple things on that. Who signed Justin Fields? This new regime guaranteed him $30 million and named him the starter with zero competition. Also, as bad as Fields has been in his career, he's never played this bad. So I'd be questioning my coaching. Why is he playing like this? He was 4-2 in Pittsburgh last year. Oh, you mean the Steelers, who couldn't wait to sign Aaron Rodgers, who the Jets, Woody, Aaron Glenn couldn't wait to get rid of, which I never was on board with and thought that was a disgrace when it happened in real time. So you have all that, and Woody using Fields is the reason why Glenn is struggling. Really? I mean, look at the first 5 games. Are we really going to say that, Woody? So just everything he said was bad, made Glenn's job tougher to try and get out of this mess and turn things around. And I really wonder how the rest of the locker room now feels, knowing their owner just threw their team captain and previous starting quarterback right under the bus.
Well, at the same time that he was throwing Justin Fields under the bus, he welcomed Aaron Glenn on the bus. He apparently gives him a hug in between bus stops and says that he's the guy, and he gave him a vote of confidence. I ask you, Jake Asman, does the vote of confidence from the owner, as strongly as he gave it in the third week of October, mean anything to you, as we still have, as you mentioned, another 10 games to go here on the season in terms of his job security?
I don't think he wants to get rid of Aaron Glenn. Woody is very egotistical, and think about it. This was his hire. He never felt connected to Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh because his brother oversaw those hires when it happened. These were his hires, the first hires he's made since Todd Bowles and Mike McCagnon a decade ago. So he wants it to work out for Aaron Glenn. He knew Aaron Glenn when he worked for the organization as a scout. He clearly has a good relationship with Glenn. We're learning about these wonderful weekly hugs that Woody has given Aaron Glenn, right? Like, he doesn't want to fire him. That said, Woody Johnson coming out on October 21st and, trying to say Aaron Glenn's doing a good job or I believe in him, that's fine. Gerard Mayo got a public endorsement from Robert Kraft around this time too. Things change. 0-7 is a lot different than finishing 2-15 or worse. And you guys tell me, who are they beating right now? They can't score touchdowns. This team's not winning more than maybe, best case, 3 games. And if it continues to look like this, and one of those 3 games ends up being the Bills the last game of the year who are sitting their starters, you can't sell anyone on progress. And if you have the number 1 pick or a top 2 pick, what evidence do you have that Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, Darren Muji, the general manager, have any idea how to properly evaluate the quarterback position and then surround that quarterback with the right infrastructure they're going to need to be successful? Because what I fear the most now is they're going to take a quarterback. We all know that. But they could pick the right quarterback, and we might not know, like Sam Darnold, because they put him in a terrible position to have any shot with the roster and the coaching staff. Don't make the same mistake again. If it continues to look this bad, they need to clean house and get a real offensive coach who's been a head coach before in the NFL and put that young quarterback in the best possible situation to have any shot to be good.
Yeah, I would say, to answer your question, it may have been rhetorical and you may have been, not looking for an actual answer to this. But if I was to give an answer on like what signs have been showed here, that Darren Mucci's a former quarterback and that they were able to identify Bo Nix, and he was the 6th quarterback of the rotation. So in this world, as we currently swim in, the Jets would have their pick of the litter of any of the quarterbacks. So the Broncos had no choice. They sort of got stuck with a guy. They said they always wanted him. Who knows what the real truth is if they would have had the number 1 overall pick. But in that case, they were able to identify Bo Nix, and he's been spectacular for the most part for the Denver Broncos. Does that inspire any hope that, okay, Darren Mucci has been sort of savvy with some of his moves, and he sort of has that quarterback background? Maybe he is the perfect guy to identify this.
I haven't seen enough. I mean, they completely neglected the wide receiver position. That I was at the game Sunday, Paul. That was embarrassing watching Josh Reynolds and Alan Lazard and Arian Smith, who's a 7th-round talent, have to play that many snaps. He's not ready. There's a reason why he was a day 3 pick. You see it. So, no, I have not seen enough. You're supposed to hit on the 7th pick in the draft. You're supposed to hit on pick 42 in the draft. Great. Impress me with some other shrewd moves. I'll give him credit for the Harrison Phillips trade and the Brownlee trade and the Briggs trade, but Michael Clemens, really? Keeping him around? Trading up for Tyler Barron? Like, that's the edge depth when you knew Jermaine Johnson was coming off an Achilles injury? There's just too many red flags right now, and they don't have a win. Like, if they want to calm the waters a little bit, show some improvement, show some competency, but I'm not keeping Muji around and getting rid of Glenn, and I'm not going to allow both these guys to come back if they're sitting there with the worst record in football. They shouldn't be this bad. That's what, to me, fans are missing. This was not part of the plan. They came in thinking they could take the roster last year that had the lead in the 4th quarter 7 times and blew it, setting a franchise record, and just coach those players better. Go listen to what Glenn was saying about Justin Fields all summer and in the offseason about letting him play quarterback and how they're going to be the ones to unlock him. Unlock him. The reason why teams didn't, quote, let him play quarterback is because he can't. That's why he's on his 3rd team in 3 years. That's why Mike Tomlin, who's going to go into the Hall of Fame on roller skates, benched him despite having a 4-2 record for a washed Russell Wilson. That's why Justin Fields is not any good, and you guaranteed him a starting job and $30 million. And now you go back to what they said about Will McDonald, another example. It's coaching, man. It's coaching, right? That viral comment from Aaron Glenn. Since week 1, how many sacks does Will McDonald have? 0.
0.
Regression all over the place. So I haven't seen enough from the GM having a clue, the head coach having any feel how to manage the position, manage offense. Oh, the last 4 minutes, they belong to the coach. The Jets have been horrific in the last 4 minutes of all these halves, and there's only been a couple close games because they're so bad, and some of these close games. So I know I'm just ranting. I'm angry. I'm pissed. This team is horrific. We are not sold on this. Don't let anyone try and tell you this is all part of some master plan, the tank. It's such nonsense.
Well, Jake, if we can give you some therapy, it's perfectly fine. By the way, Jake Asman, the Jake Asman Show, on today's broadcast, the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Hit that subscribe button. Join our little family of subscribers. We're giving away some free goodies, including a $400 golf club right now, just for becoming a subscriber. You could get in the lottery for that, essentially. Get yourself a raffle ticket. Jake, let's talk about the trade deadline here, because with the state of the Jets, they probably should make some moves. So let's talk about some moves that maybe they should make, and then what can they even get for some of those players? I know it's always tough as a Jet fan tearing apart your roster a bit, but should the Jets make some moves? And if they do, what could they get for these guys?
I think it really depends on which of these players they actually want to move. Like if we're talking about Quinnen Williams, I want at least a first round pick. I don't know how realistic that is, but like some of the bigger known players that are under contract for at least another year, whether it's Quinnen, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, in theory, you're going to get a lot bigger of a return. If you're talking about Quincy Williams, who's coming off IR and going to start the practice this week, so maybe he plays Sunday, he's a free agent. Breece Hall, running back, non-premium position, he's a free agent. I don't think you're going to be able to get a ton for the guys in their walk here. Maybe for a guy like Breece, if you get a couple teams that really need a playmaker, you can get a 4th-round pick for him. But I don't think you're going to get much more than that. Quincy, maybe a 5th. Michael Carter, if they move on from him, which it sounds like they could because they have Brownlee now who plays the same position. Maybe you get a 5th or a 6th. You're not going to get much. The biggest return would be Quinnen or JJ, but I would be very against allowing this regime to trade those guys. And I'd be very against just trading them regardless who was in charge. I think those guys are part of the solution here, not part of the problem, especially Jermaine. That's a leader. The defense, I don't think it's a coincidence. They have played their best 2 games the last 2 weeks since Jermaine Johnson has returned from injury. He's a leader, holds guys accountable. I'm not trying to trade him. I don't like seeing some reports that teams are calling and the Jets are at least listening.
Jake, are you ready for another revenge game? Joe Flacco, Jets Bengals, week 8?
You know it's coming, right? And the second they made that trade, we knew it was coming. And Flacco's coming in playing great. So it's going to be ugly, especially with Sauce likely not playing. He's still in the concussion protocol. Not that I think they'd win if they had Sauce, but the chances would be greater, right? If you have at least Sauce to cover one of their stud receivers. It's tough, man. Probably no Garrett again this week. Why rush him back when you have the bye coming up? It's ugly. I don't even know if Flacco will carve them up. He'll probably have moments, but I just don't have any faith in the Jets being able to score enough points. Like if the Bengals could get to 20 points, I don't think the Jets are getting there, and that's the big problem.
For Jet fans, I mean, it's crazy but it's true to be talking about a coach's future in his first year with the squad. But we have regularly been having this discussion about Aaron Glenn because of the terrible start that the Jets have had. What does Glenn need to do to get people's opinions turned around here that he is competent as a head coach? What does he got to do the rest of the season? Is it just about wins, Jake?
I think that's where it starts. I don't think wins are everything because, for example, Jim, if they, let's say they win one of these next 2, whether it's Cincinnati this week or Cleveland, and then they go right back to losing, but they finish the year with 2 more wins, 2 of their last 3, one against an awful Saints team, and then they beat the Bills, who are playing nobody in week 18, and they finish with 3 wins. Like, that really show me anything? I think wins is part of it. Who the wins are against and when they come is another big part of it too. Like the turnaround needs to start now. Like you're in the same weight class, or you're supposed to be in the same weight class as the Panthers when you're at home, the Bengals, the Browns when you're at home. Miami's coming to your building in the cold in December. They probably won't have their head coach McDaniel at that point, the way things are going there. Like the wins need to happen now. And it just needs to look better too. Like not only are the Jets bad, they're boring. Like to not score touchdowns in 2025, what an indictment on Glenn and Engstrand. And Glenn's responsible. He said he's not a defensive coach. He coaches the whole team. So how about you say something to Tanner Engstrand in London? Hey, maybe we should get Breece Hall involved here. He didn't have a single target in that game. Then, Garrett Wilson's not playing this past week. 3 total targets to Breece. Like, really? So I just think the coaching is so bad. It has to be dramatically better, and they got to win some games. I think right now, if you ask me, gun to my head, do I think they deserve a year 2? No chance. But I hope they at least show us something where we could feel a little better, because I don't know if Woody's necessarily going to definitely one and done this regime if they finish with 2 or 3 wins. He might be so stubborn and gung-ho on trying to be right with these hires, he gives them another year, which I think would be a huge mistake.
How do you get wins without a quarterback, though? I mean, talking to the Giant fan here who looks like maybe we finally found one, but without him, we're a disaster.
Right.
We finally found him, and now he can win. So
I would say, who signed the quarterback that can't play? Like, that's what I would be asking if I'm Woody Johnson. Why is Justin Fields playing this bad when he's not good, but he's never been this bad? Why are we in a spot where we once again can't function as an offense? We see teams around the league be competitive when they have an injury to their quarterback, and the Jets can't function. That's the question I'd be asking if I own the team.
Right. I know. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
I know you have to make the change this week, and I don't debate that they have to do something. And probably Tyrod's going to play this week, even though he wouldn't admit it. All right, or whatever. You could even go to Cook. But the fact of the matter is that Fields is the best quarterback on this roster, as bad as it is. He's the best quarterback. I think. Do you guys debate that? Either one of you take it.
Well, Connor Hughes said that he has spoken to players in the locker room that have been telling him since training camp that, and it's not everyone, obviously, it's not all 90 players, but that multiple players have told him that they believe Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Justin Fields, and they've believed that for months. And now, as things are happening here with this potential change, that could, sort of come to light, which was going to be my question to you, Jake, is that, okay, it sounds like by all accounts, Rich Media reported that they will be moving to Tyrod Taylor, despite AG not saying it for competitive reasons. Is there going to be a dramatic change to you if Tyrod Taylor is his team starting quarterback and a plan is built around Tyrod Taylor in terms of seeing touchdowns and seeing offensive improvement?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyrod Taylor is their best option. It's not a great option, but I think you could run the offense with him. He's going to drop back and at least throw downfield, give his team a chance to make plays. Like, I was at the game Sunday, and you're watching Fields. He's not even trying to throw the ball downfield. His ADOT, average depth of target, is among the worst in the league, and he holds the ball the longest in the league. And by the way, how rich was it, the head coach last week, trying to say, well, I don't hear anyone talk about Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson holding on to the ball for a while. Yeah, because their average depth of target is like 8 or 9 yards, and they won MVPs and have been great quarterbacks. Justin Fields is the worst winning percentage of any quarterback that's ever started the amount of games he started. And, oh, by the way, Aaron Glenn said when asked what he looks for in a quarterback, he wants a winner. So he signed Justin Fields. Like, they're so incompetent. They have no clue what they're doing. And every single day, something else happens that reassures my belief that these guys are the wrong people to run the New York Jets.
All right, talking with Jake Asman today inside the New York Jets. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn more about our friends at Bayberry.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family, a family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
All right, back with Jake Asman, the Jake Asman Show, talking all things New York Jets. We do this every Wednesday. Boy Green, fire off the next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just heard that from Bayberry Automotive. They're the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool. Well, apparently Jake Asman is the premier choice for great fan activity at games. Look at this great, physicality being displayed here. Throwing Jake Asman up, the Asmaniacs. Jets, Panthers, I get the game sucked, Jake, but it looked like you guys had an awesome time.
Yeah, it's like what I told you guys before your event for the Cowboys game. Enjoy everything before 1 o'clock, because once the game starts, it's terrible. And that was exactly the case with this game. The weather was awesome. Thank you to Tailgate Joe for being an awesome host for us to have a tailgate. Great DJ setup. Their food was excellent. It was just a lot of fun, man. We're grateful to have such a loyal audience that still cares about the Jets, despite how bad it's been. And I think what's so frustrating is it feels like we care more than ownership does. We care more than the people that are actually over there. And like, they don't deserve, how much we care and our passion, loyalty. Like, there's no fan base in professional sports that I think gets a worse ROI than the Jet fan, return on investment. Like, it's terrible. I hope one day we're around to see, a real team that will make us proud, but the fans are amazing. And this was a lot of fun on Sunday.
Well, Jake, like you, I'm a diehard Knicks fan, and have been for many, many years. I used to have season tickets to the Knicks, and we've been through a lot of pain. And somehow, some way, I don't know how it's happened, Jake, and we'll see where it goes in the next couple of years. But despite our owner, who could arguably be one of the worst in all of sports, we have been able to cobble together a pretty good basketball team that should be extremely competitive this year, was competitive last year. Can the Jets do it in spite of their ownership, in spite of their organization? Is that a possibility? Because I think that's what a lot of your Jet fans out there at these tailgates and at Boy Green's tailgates are thinking, that somehow, some way, we're going to step in it at some point and it's going to get better.
I sure hope so. I've used the Knicks as an example for the Jets for a while now. And that was when, Woody was going through the hiring process for the GM and the coach. You got to get those right. And that's my big fear, that they got it wrong. With the Knicks, you saw immediate improvement with Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. Like, Tom Thibodeau raised the Knicks floor, brought in a culture that the Knicks desperately needed. The Jets are trying to establish a culture. You know how the Knicks started doing it, though? They started winning games, man. Like, Thibodeau took a team that had like a 20-something win total expectation and turned them to a team that made the playoffs and was over 500 in his first year without a ton of talent that was different than the prior year. So I really think when it comes down to it, it's who you hire. We know Woody's not selling the team. So hopefully he got it right with Glenn, but the early returns are just not good. I mean, even Boy Green is the biggest optimist in the world. I know you have to even acknowledge this is not good where we're headed right now.
It's definitely not. The thing that was encouraging, and the thing I was hoping for, as you hosted this Panthers game at MetLife Stadium, was, okay, the defense finally showed up in Week 6 against Denver. Was that a blip, or are they immediately going to tank again the following week against the Carolina team? And Rico Dowdle has more yards from scrimmage of that 2-game span than any player in franchise history. And then they were facing this Jets defense. Oh boy, what was going to happen? The Jets defense for the second consecutive week held them to 13 points. So it seems like this defense, whatever the issues were through the first 5 weeks of the season, they fixed it. They're more than competent defense. They're playing at an elite level right now, outside of the only one takeaway during that span of the season, Jake. So that's the encouraging part. Is there an encouraging part to you heading into this Bengals game, that while Joe Flacco has been carving up turkeys on defense, that, with how the Jets have played, they could keep this close? And if Tyrod's any pulse of a quarterback, that sounds like a game that maybe they could win for the first time.
Yeah, right. I mean, just win games. Like that's what it comes down to. But like, this is what bad teams do, because now the defense is playing well and the offense can't do something. So watch, like, maybe the offense will show some life this week and the defense will regress back to what it's been. They're bad right now. And they got to earn back the trust or any buy-in from this fan base by showing real improvement. I mean, the defense has improved, but I'm not giving them a pass for how horrific they were the first 5 games of the year. They wouldn't be winless if the defense showed up the way they've shown up the last 2 weeks. And I think that's what's so disappointing, because we've seen bad Jets teams before. The narrative that this team is awful and this was the expectation couldn't be further from the truth. There were 3 former first-team All-Pros on that defense going into the year. They had a 10-sack guy in McDonald. They had Jermaine, who was a Pro Bowler, coming back. Offensively, you had Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. You like Mason Taylor. We like this offensive line. Tanner Engström was supposed to be a creative play caller for Justin Fields. And everything they said they were going to do, it's been the total opposite. The only thing they've improved is really the kicking and punting situation this year, and that's a damn shame.
Oh, man.
They're wasting it. They're wasting a great Nick Folk year. Watch. This will be the Jet luck, by the way. I've already thought about this. By the time they figure it out, maybe next year they get off to this good start, or they're in position to win some of these games, and then Nick Folk reverts back to what Greg Zuerlein was last year. Like, something seems to always go wrong, and I'm already feeling like, of course, Nick Folk couldn't miss when the team didn't need him to make any of these kicks because we were awful. And now next year he'll start missing kicks. Like, it's just like, that's kind of what you think as a Jet fan, and it just sucks. But that's what Glenn has to try and change, and he's only made it worse. How could you say you're not the same old Jets after you lose your 3rd straight game to start the year, and then you follow that up with every week it's getting worse in some regard? It's unbelievable.
Is the fact that this is a wild one, but I'm going to throw it on the table. Why not? I'm all for conspiracy theories today. So the Lions defense, one could argue, has been better this year than it was last year with Aaron Glenn. Is that at all an indictment on Glenn's talent?
I mean, it's tough because they had so many injuries last year, right? I know they got some injuries this year too, but I've been critical of Glenn. I'm not gonna go there just yet. I guess I want to see how it plays out more. But yeah, I mean, I know fans have noticed that and have been talking about that. Yeah. I haven't personally, criticized Glenn for that, but it is something you notice. But to be fair to Glenn, I mean, they had an enormous amount of injuries last year, and he still did a good job, keeping that team in the mix.
What's your prediction for Sunday? Is it a close game or is it a blowout?
I think there's pain involved. I think it's close for a half. That's typically how it goes. And then the Jets will probably lose by 10 or more. But because I just don't think they're going to be able to score enough points. Like, the defense might play well, but eventually they'll tire, allow some points, and it'd be tough. But the Jets don't win games. They need teams to now overlook them or completely melt. Like, the Jets won't be able to out-talent anyone given how awful their quarterback situation is, and without Garrett especially. So they need teams to just make catastrophic mistakes, muff punts, miss a lot of kicks, turn it over, right? Like crazy things like that to happen to kind of even the playing field for the Jets to then go out and try and take advantage of it. Like they had that against Denver. Everything they needed to break their way, special teams boost, forcing a turnover, converting that into point. They had everything they needed to win that game and still couldn't. So I got to see this team actually win before I pick them again.
Well, Jake, you could have Clubber Langed it up for us and just stared at the camera and went, prediction? Pain. And just stared at us, and we would have got it. Thank you, sir. Always great to talk to you. Enjoy the Knicks tonight. We do have perhaps a silver lining. It'd be nice if we kick some Cavs butt tonight at Madison Square Garden, so we'll try to enjoy that while we can, and we'll be back at it with you, hopefully talking about the glory days of the Jets next week. We shall.
That's
see.
right. Thank God for the Knicks. Jets and Giants fans, we could agree on that. Thank God.
Take care, Jake. Good talking to you.